Thank you for joining us for another show of Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host. And today we're going to be talking about fitness and health and nutrition. And today's guests are Dr. Chuck and Nurse Robin?
Sure.
Or
Nurse Robin is fine.
Nurse Robin? Yeah, how's that? That works.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Oh, great. Well, let's talk about what's going on here. You've been noted or recognized for your achievement in helping kids learn about nutrition. I believe you did a little walk with the mayor recently and was recognized.
Yes, that's true.
Here in Nashua, obviously.
Yep. Correct.
And we'll start with you, Robin. You're a nurse.
Yes.
And you are a nurse at
Dr. Crisp Elementary School.
Okay. And you're working on a program called CHIP.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the Community Health Improvement Plan. And that is a group of people that are working towards making the whole city of Nashua healthier. So that's one of my more recent endeavors. And the CHIP program is based on a survey that was done by the Public Health Department that identified key areas of the obesity epidemic, access to mental health care, and access to health care in general as primary concerns. And I am working on the obesity work group right now. And as part of that, we had a project called Walk a Mile with the Mayor. And at the beginning of October, we did that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So back on October 5th, we walked. It was actually 1.75 miles because we underestimated the distance a little bit, and we took a longer way around. So that was great because it was extra exercise.
Wonderful.
And that day, Dr. Capetter and I were recognized as healthy heroes.
Well, one of the things we were talking about off camera, and I like to do this with my guests. We just get a feel for the conversation. I was mentioning how that when I was a kid, we could count on our hands the larger kids, and sometimes they got picked on, obviously because they were larger. They stood out.
Right.
Nowadays, it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. It seems like the norm, where obesity seems to be everywhere. And what used to be considered obese is the norm, and then there's the extreme obesity. Now we have shows where you lose weight on the show, and that's go. But there's a problem in our society, it seems. And what is causing this obesity, Doctor?
Well, multifactorial, meaning multiple potential causes. Unlike when the three of us were younger, when we spent all of our days outside.
Playing kick the can.
Kick the can, or just would be outside, and your parents would say, come in for dinner, and I don't want to see you before then.
Right.
Now we have 2 working households most of the time. We have often neighborhoods or development of cities that aren't necessarily always safe, so they're inside a little bit more. The techno age is here, and it's fun to have all these gadgets that we all have. We've just turned off for this event today.
Right.
But at the same time, it's led to a lot of just sitting around. And that in turn has created a generation of kids that are just, I don't focus, and we're both not focused on the weight per se, we are focusing on more, 1, the body, but 2, just how to figure out how to move and how to get them up. Because we will come in different shapes and sizes. And I tease the kids in my classes, you don't want to look like handsome Dr. Chuck. It's not happening. But I want you, Kevin, to be unique and special to you and only you. So what we're trying to do in the classes is just trying to teach them they're wonderful and unique and special, number 1. But let's motivate you to find the tools within to find a way to get out there and be active. Right. And you don't have to be a jock. Jocks will always be jocks. We're trying to, this is what's fun about being in schools for me, because I, as a pediatrician, don't have that opportunity to be in their lives all the time. They see me on Mondays, but otherwise they have to come to my building.
Right.
So to be in Robin's environment on a weekly basis for 7 weeks is what floats my boat to say, hey guys, let's get you going. Let's find something you like to do, and not for tomorrow, not for the next day, but for a lifetime. So it's taken a generation to get to where we are. So it's going to be, that's why it's so much fun working with Robin and the wonderful other school nurses in Nashua and all the other communities, is the realization is we do have a crisis. We have an epidemic. We have to make a change because they're going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and what can we do about it? So.
Right. Again, going back to going outside and playing, I can remember when I was a kid, again, just running in the house. I'm starving! And the hunger pains brought me home.
Right.
And getting the kids out to play like that, like you said, the safe neighborhoods, that is a key issue. How did you get to how did you get to meet and start working together?
I think basically what Dr. Capetta was saying is, being a school nurse, and his Granite State Fit Kids program is geared towards 4th grade children.
Right.
So we're meeting at the same place.
Yeah.
And he is providing great information for the kids about learning about their bodies and learning about how to keep their body healthy and to be healthy lifelong. Then I'm taking care of those kids every single day, and we are reinforcing each other's
It's such
messages.
a collaboration
Yeah.
because not only do I just see them locally at that one time frame, but Robin gets to see them at pre-K, and now all the way to 5th grade. So every day the messages in the office when they come to see Robin. You know, my pinky hurt. My pinky hurts.
Yeah.
And if you have
You're a
pinky-
pediatrician. You can say pinky and get away with it.
I'll suck my thumb offline. But all these different things. So it's fun to be in the nurse's office because Robin is key to this message because she's often, as she'll tell you, the Band-Aid and the binky for all those kids who come in who just want to visit. And I know as a father of 4 too, my children spend a lot of time in the nurse's office and not for a lot of major things, but missing mommy and daddy and all these things. So as they get the message out, because Nurse Robin is there to handhold, it's so powerful. So by the time they get to see me in 4th grade, they've had some of these themes come on at age-appropriate ways.
Right.
And then we'll plant some further seeds that in 5th grade, because health science is more of a 5th grade curriculum, they'll get a little more they're interested in, they want to engage in it, and then by then, hopefully we've together got them bit. Because if we wait until they're too late for us, but if we hit them in middle school, it's even too late.
Right.
So I'm really more interested in the pre-K, K grade is really essential. I'd love to get a program
Right.
in that specifically a little more detailed that maybe I could do, but I just love what they're doing because it gets them ready for 4th grade. So when they've seen these things, they've already said, "Oh, I saw that with Nurse Robin before."
And habits are lifetimes, right? I mean, if you can develop the habits in the early years, you can always go back to those habits that you have as a foundation.
Right.
It's funny. I'm just thinking in my head today, just my normal life. I got a call literally today from the nurse's office.
Yeah.
Kylie hurt her hand, and she hit it on a door, and she came back home. I guess they were playing or something, and the nurse called. And you're very important. You're the liaison. Is she okay? Yeah, she's fine. I just wanted to let you know if her hand's a little swollen. Right. But you seldom think about the nurse talking about nutrition.
Yes, yeah, and I say you could never write a school nurse's job description. You would never, ever be done if you tried to write down everything that we do. But you deal with the children that come in front of you, and when I have a child that has a stomach ache, a headache, anything, I'm going to be asking them, what have you had to eat? And what did you eat for dinner last night? And it's easy to get into those conversations. We were talking about technology and times changing and kids not being out playing, and that's one of the big factors in the obesity epidemic. And how do we counteract that? And how do we teach families how to start being healthy again? And one of the messages that Dr. Capetta and I have both shared with the children that we work with is 5210. Have you ever heard of 5210?
I haven't.
So it's based on encouraging our children to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Limit screen time, TV, video games, anything like that, to 2 hours or less. Get at least 1 hour of physical activity and 0 sugar-sweetened beverages.
Okay.
So those are the key things that have changed. When we were kids, nobody had to tell us to get an hour of exercise. We did it. We did hours and hours of exercise. We didn't have video games to play with. And in my house, a soda was something that was a once-in-a-great while treat, not an everyday thing. We drank water and milk.
Milk, yeah. I was a big milk drinker. And it was whole milk, too.
Right, yeah.
That's like drinking glue now.
So the 5210 message is great because then we can ask families, maybe that's a lot to think about all at once, but is there one of those categories that you could work on? What do you think? A lot of times families will say, well, I think we could try to cut out the sugar-sweetened beverages.
Right.
And one of the other pediatricians that I work with, Dr. Fitzgerald, has a display, and you may have these in your office, the sugar bottle displays. Yes. So she has a container, and I think it must hold at least 10 pounds of sugar. And that represents how much sugar a person would consume in 1 year if they drank 1 20-ounce soda a week, over the course of the year. 1 20-ounce soda a week.
and it's pretty
So-
eye-opening.
And it's about 10 pounds of sugar.
How about this new thing, this Truvia? Is that a good sweetener by any chance? Have you seen? Any idea
wouldn't
about
have an
that, Tom?
opinion on
Well,
Is it
pediatric
really
wise,
natural? They say it's natural.
They can grow them. I actually got a plant as a gift, actually, over
A
the
Truvia
summer.
plant.
Did you
That you
really?
eat. You can
Oh,
just
wow.
eat the leaves.
Oh,
Oh.
interesting.
And it tastes just like the sugar ingredient, but it's it's supposed to be less caloric, but less weight gaining, but sweet is sweet. For me, it's still,
Right.
it's an option to replace something that may be not as bad, but it's still, if you can do it natural,
Right.
it's better.
I've been just trying to give myself a little report card as you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking, well, in the morning I take my frozen strawberries, and I blend them up with a little milk, and I do put a little protein in it. But that's my breakfast with Kylie
Okay.
instead of those pancakes. You cook them for a minute, and you put. She loves the gob on the syrup, and so she's becoming more and more conscious of that. So she got rid of those, and now she has the protein drink with maybe once in a while a little bacon. I mean, one piece, if that. Kevin's still doing the toast, but I'm going through in my mind. Okay, now we do the exercise.
Okay. Yeah. So are you meeting the 5210 goals?
Right.
Goals?
We're
Is that what you're
trying
looking
to-
at? Yeah.
I think we're meeting a couple of them,
Yeah.
and she likes to read, so that's good. We're doing it. We're good.
But it's a lifetime thing, and that's
Exactly.
what Robin said. And the funness about being in the schools, and Robin sees every day, she has the connection to the child, obviously, but they're also the conduit to the family, so that's where we say start small. We're both pediatric providers. We're looking after, yes, the child, but the family unit as a whole. So between all the pediatric providers in the community, not just me and not just Robin, because all of us worked so well together, is just saying, okay, make a change, like Robin just said. Let's try getting soda out for the next week or two.
Right.
And not for me, it's not really focus on weight, because if you focus on weight, that's such an artificial, measurement. You and I can weigh each other at 8 in the morning and 8 at night, and
Right.
oh my gosh, I put on 5 pounds in a day. I didn't
Must
think
be
I-
all muscle
It
that I
must be
worked out at the
flexion,
gym.
Right, and that just for the kids is such a negative potential message. And I say, okay, let's just, have you walked today? Have you walked around the driveway? Can you go to the mailbox in a safe and effective way? How about including Daddy?
Right.
Get him off the couch, all those things. So the child becomes that vehicle for wellness, and it is the center of both of our, our passions here. That's what's fun, and making a change.
And that's a great point, because a lot of what we do at the school, the children then go home and talk to their parents. And we have Dr. Capetta's program. We have UNH Cooperative Extension does nutrition education lessons for all of our third graders at Dr. Crisp Elementary School and at a lot of the other schools in Nashua. And then parents will tell me, oh, my child came home and they told me that they ate apricots in class and they never had one before, and they want us to buy them now. So what
Right.
a great way to get a message out there.
Interesting. And you brought up mental health as well a little earlier, and nutrition is linked to mental health. It would seem to
100%.
me.
Absolutely.
And
Exercise.
And the endorphins. Actually, Tracy and I we go to the gym 4:30 in the morning. You can always see us at Best Fitness or Planet Fitness, and we do our 20 minutes on the cardio, 20 minutes of weights, and if we go a week without it, we're cranky.
Yeah, you
We're-
feel the difference.
We're
Right.
cranky, and it's just something mentally that we have to do. We're not. I still got a belly. I do eat cookies. I confess it. Sorry. I have a problem. I'm Kevin.
You heard it here first.
Yes, that's right. All right, so that helped me. But in all seriousness, that when the obesity starts setting in, so does depression, and then, of course, to solve it, they go into the patterns of eating more,
Right.
and that you got to break that cycle.
Right.
When I was a kid, there was a book that I read. It was called The World's Greatest Salesman by Og Mandino. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
No, I haven't.
The whole book was based upon developing, if you're going to become the world's greatest salesman, you have to learn a new habit every day or every week. And the scrolls taught you how to develop new habits. Same way with nutrition. You can do the same thing just by not taking on the whole thing.
Right.
One little change, like you said, that triggered that in my mind for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, and it takes 2 weeks to create a habit, too. And I would say in the same way for whatever we're dealing with in my office, be it exercise, obviously, for me, but anything we deal with. So telling the kids, and if you, as your wonderful role model for your children, is fun to see, because if the kids see the parent doing it, and studies have supported this for years, then they're going to say, I want to be like Daddy, I want to be like Mommy.
Right. More's caught than taught.
That's true.
And
Great.
I think
Exactly.
of the more you read, the more you know. And that's one of the things, when I started out becoming more aware of the obesity epidemic 10 or 12 years ago, every time I read an article, I learned a new bit of information, and it was even more motivating. And learning that children were developing what used to be called adult onset diabetes was so alarming to hear. And trying to counterbalance, how do I deal with people who were used to the schools being a place where food was used as reward, food for celebration, cookies, cupcakes, brownies, ice cream. People didn't want us to take that away from them in this school setting.
Right.
And I had to say, if you can think about the children and the impact, you don't want your children to become part of those statistics. I don't want the children that I deal with to become part of the statistics.
And you've made a great inroad with that. I mean, now it's
Yes.
just public knowledge that you don't have cupcakes for birthdays.
That
That is a great point there.
That's interesting, because I remember getting the notice, okay, at Broad Street School,
Yep.
we're going to change our policy, no, don't bring in cupcakes. Everybody kind of went like, oh my God, who's the Debbie Downer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who's the Debbie?
Right.
Right.
Bring in your,
Carrot stick.
carrot sticks or something like that. Jeez, happy birthday,
Right, right.
But I see where you're going with this, because, again, you don't.
Can you imagine being the child who's sitting in the classroom and the tray of cupcakes comes in, and they were at their doctor's or their nutritionist's office the day before, and they were told, you need to get those sweets out of your diet. This should not be something that you're eating.
Right.
And then they have to sit there as a child with that dilemma. I'm not supposed to be eating it, but my friend's birthday and everybody's going to eat it. And
Right.
so if we can eliminate that, I think schools should be safe zones. And
Sure.
parents shouldn't have to worry about their children eating junk food at schools. And I mean, that's my opinion, and that's what I think is so important. But it's also being regulated by the State Department of Education, by the federal school lunch program. Our school lunches are healthier than ever. I'd feel bad if I
Yes.
didn't say something about that.
Yep.
And we went from a school 10 years ago where a salad bar was covered up in the corner and not being used, to a school that has 2 salad bars that are filled with fresh produce every day. And
Right.
the kids line up.
And you've gotten grant money for that, too.
And we have. We've
Yes.
gotten grant money, and in Nashua, I believe it's 8 or 9 of our elementary schools right now are part of the federal Fresh Fruits and Veggies program, and we provide free snack for the kids every day, and it's fresh produce. And I know those kids are trying things they've never eaten before.
Developing their palate.
Absolutely.
It's always a struggle,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? When all of the kids are doing the same thing, I would love to have you come in and see our kindergartners, 80-plus kindergartners, and when snack time comes along, they all eat the same thing. And the teachers say they have about 90 to 95% of the kids that eat that fresh produce every day. And yet, if you had interviewed the parents before the school year started, probably about 70% of them would say, oh, good luck, my kid's not going to eat all of that.
Right.
But it's positive peer influence instead of negative peer pressure. It's that positive influence.
Interesting.
And I would just balance, but I also, we have to walk the fine line between, like, kid in a candy store. If you say you can't have candy, you know they're going to want the candy.
Yep.
So again, the message that needs to be brought out here and other vehicles is, it doesn't matter, you can have a little candy. You can have that occasional Kit Kat bar or something, especially around Halloween. But in exchange, it's all about balance. At home and life and work and everything. So what are you doing to sort of, for me, it's say, okay, have that Kit Kat bar, but let's maybe walk an extra half a mile with mom or dad.
Right.
Include the parents always. And it becomes, okay, I can have that, and because that's for me also a
Not
very
forbidden.
powerful thing, because if you say no, no, no all the time, a child who's learning, you don't want them growing up that. Yes, but here's an alternative.
Right.
Yes, here's something else to try. And it gives them choices, because it's all about forks in the road. And I just think we just have to be careful in not being so restrictive that we go down now another avenue that just makes it
Right.
negative, and
Right.
all fighting back. So the balance for both of us is saying, there's nothing wrong with it medically. We all admit to having some cookies. But if you're not about ins, what about your outs? If you at least can tell me in the 5210 message kind of idea that you're getting out there and moving and doing something that moves your heart, gets your breathing rate up, all those things, for a lifetime, then I'm going to look at you and say, hey, you're a healthy dude.
I like the idea that, if you're going to have that, we're all going for a walk. Nice family time. talking, communication, those are things that you're actually building memories as well.
Right.
Even if it's just, I can remember when we walked around the block. You gave me a cookie and we had to go walk. That's a beautiful memory, right?
Well, it is, and I think that's been shown too over the years about the dining room table has become an antique piece of equipment in your house.
Yeah.
None of us sit down with our children anymore.
Oh, we do. We do
and so
on a regular basis.
And that's
Right.
great. That's the
That's
way
the
it should
key.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great, that and prayer. We have prayer time too.
Yes.
But the best thing, you really find out what's going on in their head if you just sit down and you're not leaving the table till we have at
Great
least a
way to
5-minute
catch up.
conversation.
Yes.
And you are going to finish that, and you are going to drink your milk, and stuff like that. It's important. It's
And I think it leads later for, it's beyond the elementary school, but for us in adolescence, when we have our children, is then, because the vehicle of discussion becomes the dining room table, which is a positive thing, not a
Right.
negative thing, then they're more likely when they're coming in actually trusting you and keep those lines of communication, they're going to talk about that boyfriend-girlfriend issue.
Yes.
They're going to talk about the safe sex discussions that my face goes red and say, shoot, where's Robin when I needed her? No, right, you're not supposed to be talking about that.
Exactly.
But our children are older, it's coming, and it's fun, really fun to do that. And now it's become just, it's not like Little House on the Prairie kind of scenario, but it's really, we sit down and we know we're going to be there for a couple hours.
open, honest dialogue.
It is really key
Now,
to all of
we're
this.
coming into the Thanksgiving and the holiday season. I guess that balance thing is, is there a separate message, or is there something that you, I mean, you're going to have all these pies, you're going to have all
Oh,
the...
I think that's a great question, and I
Yes.
think part of what Dr. Capetta was just saying. So in moderation, certainly it's a time that we sit down with families and celebrate and you enjoy a treat. My family, I call my sisters-in-law ahead of time, or my sisters, and say, bring your sneakers, let's go for a walk.
Right.
And so
Right.
we make that part of that day, that we get some exercise and some activity. And then there's nothing wrong with picking and choosing and eating your favorite things and not feeling like, oh, I have to eat some of everything. I
Right.
used to do that. I used to, at birthday parties, I felt like it was going to hurt the birthday person if I didn't eat their cake. And honestly, there's certain, I like chocolate cake, but if it's vanilla, I don't have any interest in having a piece of it. It doesn't do anything for me. And I've learned that that's okay. I don't have to have that. So I'm selective about my sweets and treats, and I think that anybody can be that way.
We have a little tradition in our house now that I actually cook the Thanksgiving dinner while Mom and the kids go with Grandpa to do a little 3K in Lowell.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
I did the one up here last year.
You did?
Actually, the Great Gobbler, I did that last year.
It's a great idea.
Yes,
It's a nice tradition, and everybody's out doing their stuff. And
Wow, wonderful.
for me, I'm eating the cookies. I know I got a lecture
Those
on that
cookies.
yesterday, so I got to make sure that I start not eating cookies. I really have a problem with it.
Recurrent theme, dude.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
the
say, I
soft
think
line.
so.
Yeah,
I'll waive
exactly.
the copay.
This is very cathartic for me. Anyway, so yeah, the holidays are coming up. We had Bikram yoga. They come in, they tell you how to do certain moves. That's that hot yoga. That,
Right.
on
Oh,
Pine
right.
Street.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And so that you're not just getting all full and getting tired and watching the game and falling asleep. Do a couple moves, digest it well.
Right.
How do people find your website or your program? Is there a website for this?
Well, for my program, it's grandestatefitkids.org. It was developed about 10 years ago. The program's been running for 17 years, and we've taught 28,000 kids so far, and hopefully 30,000 by the end of this year. But it has a list of all the 7 weeks. We talk about heart, brains, bones, gut, exercise, nutrition. As they learn about their body like a car, we're going to take it apart over the next few weeks, look under the hood. Like a book, we have a left page and a right page. We're like an onion, we're going to peel it. So it had different themes. And then they have all the letters that we send to the parents on the site. They have, me particularly, is trying to, again, connect like we talked about with the parents. Is one side of this take-home letter is what the child did in class. But also in the back, it will say for the parent who's maybe reading it, oh, okay, what did Dr. Chuck talk about exercise? I can go to the gym, or I can walk. If I'm having problems smoking, I can go to the American Lung Association website. So they now start to say, hey, this is important for me, okay? And in turn, I will then partake of this for my own reasons, obviously, but also for the family unit. And so there's a lot, and there's website links to age-appropriate activities, games, and different things that the kids that I've checked out that are all just fun to do. And then the Nashua Public Schools has a website for all the schools, number one. You have a website at Dr. Crypt that's great, I've seen over the years.
Yeah, we do, and working on updating that, so I don't know how current my information is on there.
All right.
So in my free time as a school nurse, and anybody
know.
who's a school nurse will tell you there's no free time
There's
during
no
the
free
day.
time.
Yeah.
Or a teacher.
But that's okay.
But each of the
yes.
teachers have wonderful websites too, or little links to what their activities what their child is doing in the classroom. So I would encourage them to, look that way if they have a computer to do that. And
Right.
Are there any future events coming up that you'd like the public to know about?
Well, I've just been juiced by having Robin as a colleague all these years. I've been in Ash for 20 years, and it's just been fun just to see the whole nursing community, and we're partners in crime. If I go into a new school, and we're in 40 schools this year, I will always find the school nurse number one. Because
Right.
we have a non-spoken communication that happens.
Yeah.
And we're all looking after kids, but just trying to, now I'm having my senior moment as I'm talking, as I'm verbal diarrhea. What was I going to say?
New events coming up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
it's just, no, it's just that we will continue to work together. But I've just loved to see, not only has Robin taken off, and she has been the leader for the Nashua community to take this to levels that none of us could appreciate. Got the vegetable program there, the school lunches, but also has a wonderful colleagues, 11 of them, plus the middle school and high school nurses all involved in this. So
Amazing,
the kids
yes.
are all seeing it all through the Nashua schools. So I think,
Even in the high schools?
oh yes,
Yes. The like I said, food service in our city is just incredible. Our staff in the kitchens are working hard to provide the healthiest meals they can, and it just keeps improving every year. The other thing, when we talked about the CHIP, Community Health Improvement Plan earlier, to watch for more citywide events. When we did the walk with the mayor, she talked about wanting to do this again and not just as a once-a-year thing, and there was a little boy up front and said, we should do it every season. And I mean, what a
Yes,
great
right.
idea. We
Or
should.
how about the
That would be
100th
fun.
day of school?
100th day of school, our 100th
Right.
day celebration is not a huge centipede cake anymore. It's
Right.
100 exercises on the 100th minute.
And you said that went over well with the kids.
The
huh?
kids love it. I will send you a picture of
Right.
hundreds of kids exercising at the same time and smiling and having fun with it, and they look forward to it. Walk to school day, bike to school day we do, and again, the principal, Mrs. Quigley, and our assistant principal, Mrs. Frank Hoare, got on a tandem bike last year and biked to school, and they had never ridden one
Oh,
before.
fantastic.
And
That's fun.
the
I've never
kids
ridden one of those.
love that. The
Yes.
kids love that. Actually, our school psychologist, Dr. Fontaine, and her husband joined us at the same time. That's just as exciting to kids, if not more so, than having some kind of a sweet treat that comes and goes in a
Right.
flash. And when we get out in the neighborhood and we join families and we walk to school with them or we bike to school with them,
You're
it
starting to sound like a
teaches them
community here.
the way, yes.
That's it, and your
yes.
partners. I mean, the Boys and
Right.
Girls Club, the
Yes,
Girls
the
Inc.,
Y.
the
We
YMCA
had to
have
make-
all been phenomenal.
Prescribe the Y is
Prescribe
a
the Y.
great program.
Right.
that's
They got the
that's-
pools, they got the...
Yes, and that comes to providers actually, to prescribe the Y, thanks to the, we as providers in the office where they see us now in our environment can say, okay, here's a prescription to be healthy.
Yeah.
So we write a little just pre-printed thing that says it can go to the Y and get into a program there, and it sort of legitimizes what we're talking about. The medical community thinks it's important to do, but also as a fun way to involve our partners who take it to the next level. We're in the schools, but we need the families, we need the communities
Right.
all around this. So the mayor's been great, the Y, all these other wonderful partners have just been great. And bring it to life, because that's where they spend a lot of time. The after-school programs, all are super to make the same
Oh, our
things happen.
after-school programs are, again, on board with healthy choices,
Yes.
and that's
Right.
the way it needs to be. Like you say, a whole community.
Yeah.
And a sneak little tidbit of information, that we're just starting to work on a program where there'll be restaurants in Nashua that will have healthy choices. You'll be able to open the menu and see symbols next to certain menu items and know that you're making a good choice if you go out to eat.
You know,
Great.
we recently went to Disney.
Okay, and?
Oh my God. Can we find something good to eat in Disney? And I'm not trying to slam them, but everything
Right.
was fried. It was just, it was a blast, but it was just junk food after junk food. You'd have to leave. You know, somebody's got
Or be thinking ahead and packing and,
Yes.
and carrying in
Correct.
healthy
Right.
food choices.
Clue us
I
in.
hear they're working on it, but it's
Yeah.
a very slow thing because people are stuck with traditions.
Oh, yeah.
But I think more and more families are like yourself, trying to make sure that your children have access to good foods and thinking about it even when you're out and on vacation.
And my mission is the hospital, for me personally, is when we go to the hospital, it's fascinating to me that the 2 hospitals in town have Coke machines, vending machines,
right.
with all this garbage, it's in there.
Yeah.
So the person who's had a heart attack, person who's had something else, you walk downstairs to have a quick fix. I think we need to make that change. That's a mixed message.
Right.
So, but if we're doing it in the schools, we can now work on these other areas. So it's been so wonderful to work with Robin all these years, and I
And
thank you.
likewise, thank
Well,
you.
I thank you for coming on the show. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye to our guests?
No, this is great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Appreciate the
having us.
opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles. And if you need some pointers, please go to the website, and check it out. Fitness is definitely a way of life, and it's one habit at a time. So until next week, thanks for watching.